and welcome to the Do Not Disturb Football Podcast. I am your host, Drew Pelter. That is Nimmer in the Steelers jersey. Darian's off being a good husband for his wife. We told you to draft Cooper Cup. We told you Josh Allen was going to score a touchdown. And then for Darian, he told you that the Panthers and Saints game would be a close game. So, so I guess we're batting 1,000 here, but we are getting some things right. Uh, I will start with Nim. I know I look like a version of me that kidnapped the real me, but I'll get into that here in a little bit. Nimmer, how are you doing?
Good. Yeah, it looks like this weekend was rough for you, Drew. But yeah, nevertheless, it was a great weekend to have football in our lives back again. Just waking up on Sunday and saying, "All right, well, I made wings this weekend, traditional to make it's football season, have to have wings and a beer. Went over to Ian's house, my best friend Ian. Shout out Ian for having me, and just spent all day with just watching football, sitting on the couch. It was so nice. But that being said, I fantasy was not good for me. I am in 4 leagues and I lost 3 out of 4. And the one that I did win, I literally won by 0.6%. It was like 108.6 to 108.2. So
Wow.
I kind of lucked out on that last one. I did get the lowest scoring um, points in our league. And so for everybody that I gave a bad grade to, I am sorry. Shout out Austin and Quaz. But nevertheless, gambling, I did really well. I ended up hitting a 6-legger, and we'll talk about that more tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, it's just good to have football in our lives. I had to rep my TJ Watt jersey because the Steelers won, even though nobody thought we would win. And I think we're the only team. It's honestly, the Steelers are so comical, and that's coming from a huge fan. The Steelers are so comical. How do we win a game without scoring a touchdown? Literally, like, it's just so mind-boggling to me.
That's the most Steelers thing ever.
Such a Steeler thing to do. The highest scoring, the player with the highest points was Chris Boswell. Like, how does that? It was a kicker. Like, it's just so crazy. But nevertheless, we're 1-0, and number one in the division. So I can't really complain.
The only 1-0 team in the AFC North,
Yeah.
the Pittsburgh Steelers. And me and Darian also said that the Falcons would win that game. So we were off there. I don't even know how they won that game, to be honest. Well, I do know.
I
It was
was gonna
TJ
say,
Watt.
yeah, just two
TJ
words,
Watt was the
90.
reason that you guys won that game, but you watched the offense and it was pretty stale. Um, give you a little background on my weekend. It was terrible. I lost in both fantasy leagues that I'm in. Saturday, I got to watch the Colorado Buffaloes get absolutely destroyed by Nebraska.
Yeah, that was
I've
that
been
was
getting a
ugly.
bunch of messages about that. So thank you, everyone. It's
How
been
do you
great for
feel
my
about
mental health.
Shakir? How do you feel about Shakir leaving before the game was over, like going into the locker room? Do you care or not
Shador?
really? Yeah, Shador. Said Shadir.
Uh,
Shador.
it's just, I don't, it's not looking good, bruv. That's all I have to say. It's just not looking good. It's starting to look just like embarrassing. And now there's like whispers, is Dion going to get fired? Which
Ooh.
is crazy. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. I mean, like I said, I think they'll win 3 games this year. So we'll see. Did I mention following us on? Let me say that right now. Make sure you guys are following us on all of our social media. We are on Instagram, X, TikTok, here on YouTube. Follow, like, subscribe. Tell your league mates about it. I know that we got some messages over the weekend about some of the right things we told people to do. Cooper Cup was one. Ramondre Stevenson and Chris Boswell. That was something that was directly shouted out to us. So Tell your league mates about us. Maybe you'll start winning some fantasy
Even
games.
Josh Allen. You said Josh Allen would be the week 1 fantasy MVP. So
I said he would give you a 30-point game, and he
yeah,
gave you a 30-point game, which is crazy.
that is crazy.
But yeah, so I got to watch Colorado get blown out. That was fun. And then I got to watch the Broncos get 2 safeties and an interception to start the game, and they still lost that game.
Jeez.
Bo Nix looked terrible. Sean Payton said he gave us a chance to win. I would say he gave us a bigger chance to lose. In that game, he he nearly threw 4 interceptions. And there was one that was like a dad playing catch with his son, and it was dropped. It was such an easy interception, and the guy dropped it. But he ended up throwing 1 interception. So really, in totality, it would have been 5 interceptions on the day if everyone caught the ball. And that makes me very worried for like better teams that come along, better defenses that he's going to play,
Next week.
i.e., TJ Watt coming to Denver. I think that could be his welcome to the NFL moment when he's on his back.
Bro, they're going to be headhunting. Honestly, TJ Watt is coming for some vengeance this year. And then I forgot to even mention the fact that he got 2 strip sacks, and they both got called back. And one of the strip sacks, the ref came up to him while he was running to the locker room and said, "Oh yeah, my bad. I think I missed on that call."
Wow.
What the fuck? Like, what is going on? He timed
One of
it
them was a
so
terrible call.
perfectly. Yeah. He timed it perfectly, and then you're gonna throw a flag on him. Like, I think that coaches should be able to challenge at least 1 or 2 flags, because that could have changed the whole entire momentum of the game. Gave our offense, even though our offense didn't do really shit, but gave our offense field position. I mean, even nevertheless, the Steelers, like, what if like a pass interference call gets called in the end zone? The Super Bowl when they got called for holding, like, don't you think that we should be able to challenge it? They're able to challenge everything else but the flags. Like, I understand that sometimes the refs do make mistakes. They're human, so I don't know.
And not to mention the I think it was 22 or 24 illegal formation calls that happened this past weekend. They said last year's opener there was only 10 of those calls, so it was more than double this opening week. It seems to be the call this year that we've gone from pass interference to roughing the passer to now illegal formation, and that's the call that has the most speculation. And it's just weird how that call is out of nowhere being called like every single play. And what was really weird was Kansas City, Jawan Taylor, he was lining up illegally the entire game, and they never called that on him once.
Yeah, exactly. I think they definitely made a point of emphasis on that this week. But what's weird is that I don't think there's any the tackle penalty, the
hip drop tackle.
Thank you, hip drop tackle. I don't think there's one, and there's one penalty that was thrown for that, and then there was a couple that were questionable and could have been called for hip drop.
There was one last night in the Niner game that was definitely a hip drop tackle against Juwan Jennings.
Exactly.
And he got hurt on that play.
So, I mean, like I said, the refs aren't going to be perfect, but because they're not going to be perfect, and they have so much control in how it can dictate a game, I think that they definitely need to implement that rule, especially if they just keep on doing rules and rules and rules and rules. Like, there has to be some type of balance, or else I saw this one tweet. It was like, remember how the refs that ref got hurt? Something like they started massaging his calves. They're like, this is the biggest loss that Kansas City's ever gonna get.
They're gonna have to do something about that illegal formation call, because I think Chris Long, Howie Long's son, came out and talked about it, and he was like, "What do you want offensive linemen to do? We're going up against guys like T.J. Watt and Myles Garrett. Like, we're gonna put a foot back, or we're gonna be 1 inch behind the center's waistline, or whatever the rule is." I've never heard of that before. It's so weird how that came out of nowhere for week 1.
Yeah. And what was funny is I think they implemented that rule from the I don't know the name, but the Kansas City tackle.
Juwan Taylor.
Juwan Taylor. He was last year. Remember that one game where he was pretty much like in the backfield. So they're like, all right, let's implement this rule so that doesn't go into effect. And then he does the same shit and still doesn't get the call. So it's like
He was doing it the whole game.
Yeah, the person that you're making the rule for is not getting flagged for doing the exact same thing.
That was weird.
Yeah, so I don't know,
but let's get into the injury report. This is quite a lengthy one, so please bear with me while I go through this. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson is listed as questionable with an undisclosed injury. Bears wide receiver Roma Dunze is listed as questionable with a knee injury. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, he was listed out right before the game on Sunday. He is listed as questionable with a hamstring injury. Browns tight end David Njoku is listed questionable with an ankle injury. Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson is listed as questionable with a knee injury. I think he said, though, he was going to play this weekend. I think he said he's going to play regardless of the injury, so he should be good to go. Rams Puka Nacua, wide receiver, has been placed on IR with a knee injury. This was an injury that he suffered in the summertime. He re-aggravated it in the game. He's now expected to return by week 7. Rams were hit with a bunch of injuries in that game against the Lions. Their offensive tackle, Rob Havenstein, is questionable with a knee injury. Their other tackle, Joe Noteboom, questionable with an ankle injury. And their 2 guards, Steve Avalia, is questionable with a knee injury. And Rams' Kevin Dotson, another guard, is questionable with a knee injury. Jordan Love, that is another reason why my weekend sucked so much. That's my fantasy QB. He is doubtful with a knee injury. Thankfully, it sounds like it's not too serious, so he'll be returning at some point this season.
Looks like you're going to be talking to Austin about some trades.
No, I just pick up Stafford, so I'm going to go with the Stafford Cup stack.
Yeah, but you just heard all the injuries in the offensive line. No Puka, You never know. But sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good. But Dolphins running backs Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane are both listed as questionable. Achane is dealing with an ankle injury. Mostert is dealing with a chest injury. Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison is questionable with an ankle injury. Giants wide receiver Darius Slayton is questionable with a concussion. Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson is questionable with a calf injury for week 2. There are rumors that they are preparing for Justin Fields to start again in Denver. San Francisco's wide receiver Juwan Jennings is questionable with an ankle injury, and Christian McCaffrey was ruled out right before the game and is listed questionable with the calf injury for week 2. What do you think about that Russ story?
Oh, the Russ story? I mean, honestly, we all knew Justin Fields was going to come in. Like, I just didn't know when. It kind of sucks that Russ isn't going to be coming into the Steelers, all hyped, all this type of stuff. So super excited to be part of the Steelers, and then not even going to be able to play. I think that if he doesn't play soon, I don't know. I don't know what the Steelers are going to do. I really want him to play against the Broncos just to, like, as a revenge type of thing. But, I mean, I honestly don't. I really hope that Russ doesn't play. I think that Justin Fields is a better quarterback in the system. Not only because he's a better quarterback. That was weird. Sorry. I don't know what happened. But he's not. I don't think he's a better quarterback, but I think that our offensive line is so banged up that he's a better scrambler, and I don't think that Russ can get out of the pocket as well as Justin Fields. And Arthur Smith started to script some plays for him. So like the bootlegs where he's not just standing in the pocket, some like play action passes just keeps him kind of moving a little bit. So I think Justin Fields is a better quarterback in an offense, in an Arthur Smith's offense. But I do want Russ to play week 2 and then just not play the rest rest of the year.
I wish Russ was playing this game, to be honest,
Oh, that'd be so good.
just to see him in Denver.
You know
I do
what's
think it's good.
Go ahead.
I do think it's good news if Fields plays because our defense looked terrible and he could probably run all over them. So
Yeah. But you know what was funny? What really cracked me about him this year or yesterday? No, Sunday, is the fact that he was in full pads and had eye black on. Like I understand maybe having full pads because you're the emergency quarterback or whatever, but the fact that you put eye black on, oh my god, it was.
I'm surprised he didn't have his helmet on.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm surprised he wasn't doing push-ups and
Yeah, poor Russ, man. So many people give him so much shit, but I mean he does it to himself. But I don't know. That it is kind of weird how you'd come in to a new system and then aggravate your calf, and then all of a sudden, the week of your first game, you're like the coaches and the medical staff are like, "Oh, sorry, you're not gonna be able to play. We're gonna put Fields in."
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think it was a little fishy. That's a little fishy. I think that they wanted Fields to start. Fields had a better training camp. Russ didn't even really play in the training camp as much as Fields. Preseason, everything. So I think there has to be like something like he's probably like 70, 75, 80%. But they're like, nope, you have to be 100%, that sort of thing. So
I thought it was weird too because usually I heard that Russ wanted to play, but the doctors overruled him.
mm-hmm.
And usually, if a player wants to play, they play.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of weird.
Exactly. And usually what happens is that if somebody's like, on the line of it, should we let them play? Should we not? There's medical staff when he's warming up. Like he's all around doctors throughout the whole entire game. Like all of this type of stuff. There's not a doctor in sight when he was warming up. So I don't know. I mean, with all these injuries and these Achilles and stuff like that, like I don't blame the medical staff for not, for being on the precautionary side, especially we have a 17-week season and, that sort of thing. But, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. We wish all those guys a speedy recovery, as always. Let's go to some other news. We have a little bit of trouble going on for some players in the NFL. Tyreek Hill was arrested after a traffic violation on Sunday before the game against Jacksonville. If you've seen the video, it's kind of hit the mainstream media, so it's kind of been out there for everyone to see. It is pretty... I would say a bad look for the police that were involved. Not a great look for Tyreek either, if we're being honest, but just a bad situation. Hopefully, thankfully nothing happened. I think Tyreek probably just got a ticket. Thankfully, no crazy arrests happened or, anything like that.
Yeah. He was detained, so he just got put in handcuffs because, yeah. But I feel like both parties could have handled that situation much differently, and then we wouldn't be talking about it. But the fact that he did the touchdown celebration was definitely kind of funny. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. What did he do?
When he scored a touchdown, he had Waddle he put his hands behind his back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, dang,
that's pretty bold.
Yeah,
Jeez Louise.
But yeah, I feel like both parties could have definitely handled that situation a lot better. But
then we have Deshaun Watson. He has another lawsuit that has arisen. This one is a little different from the other stories. He was actually on a date with this Jane Doe, and um, I don't want to go fully into detail about what happened. I just, he has another lawsuit that he's dealing with. We'll see where this case goes. I don't really like to talk about this kind of stuff just because I don't really have a lot of knowledge in law. I don't like to make assumptions once, you know, something happens. I don't want to like a knee jerk reaction. I like to let the legal thing work itself out. I like to let the mainstream media talk about that. They do a great job of, destroying players for it. So
Is it true that I saw like a report saying that his dad died this week? Is that true? Did you see that
he
or
said
no?
that he said that after the game.
Damn.
He said that two people close to him died this past week for him.
Jeez, he's just not having a good week. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Poor Deshaun.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it
Moving
there.
on.
the the Pick'em League. So the Pick'em League, my wife, Dr. Payne, Sammy, she is tied
man.
for first
Nice.
with you and Darian. She is very invested in this. Extremely
Nice.
invested
That's
in
good.
this.
Where are you ranked?
I'm ranked last.
Oh,
Came in
okay.
dead last. I think my problem was I was trying to predict the exact upsets, and that's just not possible with the NFL. So
Yeah.
this week I've looked at the spreads, and I think I'm going with the favorites in almost every single game. So,
Oh, that is so funny.
which I'm sure there will be one or two wrong.
Shout out Sammy though. That's good. Good job.
Yeah, she almost had the exact score too, the tiebreaker.
Oh,
But the
really?
Niners or the Jets scored a touchdown
Oh,
to break that.
damn.
So, and then there's Irie, who is actually dead last. He forgot to put anything in. So I guess you're not winning that $100, Irie, if you're listening.
I know. I was gonna say you can still join, but there's really no
You're
point.
gonna
You're just
come in
gonna
last.
be Sorry, you missed your chance if you wanted to join. That's so funny.
Let's get into the week one review. So, a lot of things happened. I'll start with you, Nim. Who looked good? Who looked bad? The upsets that happened, disappointments. Were there any things that kind of jumped off the screen for you?
So the Steelers defense looked really good. But I think that what really surprised me, I didn't think the Bengals I think were the biggest surprise of my biggest kind of team surprise. I didn't think that they were going to be that bad. On the flip, I didn't think that the Patriots offensive line was going to do that well. I didn't think their defense was going to do that well. So I can't, keep put the Patriots down or anything like that because they played a really good game. I definitely thought the Bengals were going to do well. Definitely thought the Raiders were going to do much better than they did. I did not see that coming. I didn't think the Chargers really had it in them, but especially with the run game and Joe Alt might have been the best pick in the first round. Honestly, he really clamped down Crosby and Crosby didn't really do anything that game, which helped the run game and J.K. Dobbins and stuff like that. But I think those two were the big surprise, and I think that the Ravens that were a surprise. I thought their scheme was a surprise, I should say, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. Justin Fields. I wanted to talk a little bit about Justin Fields. I'm disappointed, but I'm happy at the same time. The fact that our offense couldn't score one touchdown. Come on, one touchdown. Like our kicker is the highest scoring point, like highest scorer in the whole entire league, but just in general, like that's ridiculous. But on the bright side, Fields finished the game off completing 73% of his passes, finishing off with a 17 and 23. He had 14 rushes for 57 yards. So I didn't. That's why I kind of mentioned earlier that I think with Justin Fields, it's going to be a better quarterback in our system because I want to say like maybe a third of those, maybe half were designed runs, but most of them were just like he felt the pressure and then he just went. Um, but and then in fantasy, fun fact, out of the first 10 people that would have been drafted in our league, but instead of Justin Tucker, I did Garrett Wilson because the majority of the leagues had him going pick 10. 3 out of 10 people that were picked in the first round fantasy wise got 15 or more points. Everybody else got below 15 points. So, yeah. So, but it is only week 1. I was actually watching the Rich Eisen show, so shout out to him. And he kind of mentioned how week 1 is just an extended preseason, which is 100% accurate. Most of these people have not even played, haven't played for since last season. Aaron Rodgers hasn't played for over almost a year. I think he said tomorrow is the date he got injured. So, it's only week 1, but I thought that was a very surprising stat that only 3 out of the top 10 people that were drafted got more than 15 points. Most of the people that got like 30 points were drafted in the second or third round, but we'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, so that's my week 1 recap.
Yeah. To start with the Steelers, man, TJ was incredible. He was my favorite player to watch this weekend. He really took that game over. There was nothing the Falcons could do to slow him down. They were trying everything. They were chipping with tight ends and running backs, and it was not working. That tackle that was going up against him had his hands completely full. There was nothing he could do to slow down. And I could see it on Kirk, like his body language when he was in the pocket. He was bracing for TJ the entire time. That was one of the best games I've seen TJ Watt play. He's one of my favorite defenders in the league. He has to win Defensive Player of the Year if he has a similar year. If he has a similar year than what he had last year, or like he had last year, he has to win it this year. He should have won it last year. That was an incredible performance by TJ Watt. Really, that was the reason the Steelers won, was 100%. All TJ. And there was also some good, interception by Deshaun Elliott. He played well. Patrick Queen was kind of stuffing up the middle of the D-line. The rest of the D-line was doing its job. So that defense looks great, like it always does in Pittsburgh. Justin Fields kind of looks like he's still struggling recognizing coverages and things like that. But like you said, it's week 1. Things will get better. If he plays against the Broncos, I see a much better game for him because Broncos defense was pretty bad against Seattle.
Just one note on that, I did say all we need is a quarterback not to turn the ball over, and that's like we kind of mentioned, that's the Steeler way. Just have the defense win the games, and we're gonna go to the playoffs. Now, will we be successful against like a really good offense? We'll see, but that's how the Steelers are gonna win a lot of their games, by winning. Scoring once, scoring twice, maybe on a bad team, but the defense has to carry us. But
yeah, and that I think probably was the concern with Justin Fields. Was he going to get in there and turn the ball over? But he didn't. So success, really. Some of the other games that happened, Chiefs Ravens. If you listen to our breakdown of what we thought was going to happen, there was a lot of things that we said that did happen. The way they used Derrick Henry is not the way I think they should be using him. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I would assume he got less than 50% of the snaps. And Justice Hill was heavily involved. It's going to be really interesting when Keaton Mitchell gets back because now you have three guys that they're probably going to use. And then you have Lamar taking all of his rushing upside as well. So, really a crazy weekend. The Niners game last night, it was obvious the Niners were a better team right off the bat. It was obvious. You could see on Aaron Rodgers' face he was excited to be back. He was walking around like he's this big bad man. He looked good, but that team had no shot. I think they still have a problem. The Jets do with play calling. Mr. Nathaniel Hackett, I would imagine, is going to be on the hottest seat here in a few weeks if that doesn't get corrected. And good week, though. Good to see football back. Good to have it back in all our living rooms and at the bars and wherever you watched it. It was exciting.
Hmm.
There is a story that kind of broke out last night after the San Francisco game. There was some confusion with Jordan Mason. That was the running back that took place of Christian McCaffrey. He was asked directly after the game from a reporter, when did you know that you were going to start uh, this game on Monday? And he said, probably Friday night. And they go to the presser with Shanahan and they ask Shanahan, when did you let Jordan Mason know that he was going to start? And Shanahan said, I never said that. I told him to be ready. I told him it might be a different game than normal, but I never said he was going to start. And then they went back to Mason, and Mason said they asked him the same question. So they just kept asking this question over and over again because someone messed up. And he said, this is why I don't like talking to the media. You say one thing wrong, and then everyone gets it wrong, and this is why I'm mad. Um, what do you think about this situation, Emma? Do you think someone's lying here?
Um, I don't think that Shanahan told him he's gonna start. I think he said play like you're going to be a starter, and then maybe he misinterpreted that and said, "All right, well, I'm going to be starting, or I'm going to be playing more, or that sort of thing." Um, Especially because they knew Christian McCaffrey. I think was it the same day? Was it Sunday? I believe, or it might have been Friday or Saturday. But they said that that Christian McCaffrey is more of an Achilles injury than a calf injury. So I think that they kind of knew that he was going to be limited at least. And so I think it was more a miscommunication, a misinterpretation. But if you really don't like, I mean, you're a professional athlete. Like, yeah, you're the third string running back or whatever, but you still had media, you still have the same media training that everybody else does. You still should have common sense of what to say when you're asked questions. I'm sure before press conference, I don't know if they do this before the locker room, but I know the coaches does and like on hard knocks they do this before press conferences where they get briefed like the questions that might be asked and that sort of thing, and then how you're gonna say it, and how do you, like, essentially getting briefed from the press conference so they have a better answer. But you're a professional athlete, nevertheless. Like, you know, you're getting paid millions of dollars, and why are you getting paid millions of dollars? Is because of the media. It's because the media is putting your name out. It's because they're putting the Niners name out. It's putting the NFL's name out and stuff like that. Like, so, like, although you don't like the media, like, tough luck. Like, you're getting paid millions of dollars. You know what I mean? And if you really don't like the media, then take the Marshawn Lynch approach and just say, "I'm here so I don't get fined." Yeah, all of the classic Marshawn Lynch interviews. So yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say if I was him, I would just turn it into a Marshawn Lynch thing and be very short with the media say the same thing over and over again.
And I think that's why Marshawn started doing that. I think if I'm not mistaken, the he said that's kind of what happened is that the media he said one thing and the media kind of blew it out of proportion, and then after
Yeah.
that he's like I'm not talking to them ever again. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely ways to go about it. I think, like you said, with Christian McCaffrey being hurt, I'm sure Jordan Mason was watching him all week and was thinking he might not be able to play. And then you get that call from Shanahan where he's like, "Hey, be ready." In that moment, your mind's gonna flip and say, "Oh, I'm starting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be the starting running back this week." So I don't think anyone's lying. I think that Shanahan probably called him and said, "Hey, be ready. Like this could be a different game." And Mason, from that point onward, knew he was starting. So the next story we have is Dak Prescott. So this was probably the biggest story of the weekend. It kind of went almost unnoticed just because the game started right after he got this contract. But he signed a new contract, 4-year deal with the Dallas Cowboys to stay in Dallas, $240 million. It is $60 million per year, and it is the highest contract in NFL history for a quarterback. Um, Let me ask you, Nim, what does this do for the Cowboys? Will they have to trade anyone? I know that we've kind of been talking about, can they keep all three? Can they keep CD, Dak,
Do
and
you hear that?
Micah? Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Nana, come here. She's like scratching her back. She's a golden retriever, so she's like, sorry.
But what do you think? Do you think they're going to have to have someone walk away? They have CD and Dak paid now, so is it Micah out? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think so. I think that if Micah really wants to get paid, how much? I mean, honestly, him and T.J. Watt were really the only defensive linemen that really did well this year. Out of the top four, Crosby didn't do well. Myles Garrett didn't do well this weekend. So out of those two, I mean, you kind of have to expect him to be the best paying D end of it, maybe of all time now, just the way that everybody else is getting paid. But I think that the way that those three are really the only people that are really getting paid that well, right? They don't have. It's not like the Niners where they're getting paid. They're paying everybody. I mean, granted, I don't know the other salary caps, but I'm assuming that most of their money is going to go to those three. I want to say at least 50% of the salary cap will definitely go to those three. So if I had to guess, I would say no. I think they're going to be able to keep all three. I think that the Jerry Jones is a damn good GM, even though he needs to just stay out of the media and stop talking, but just stick to his office and his home and just be the owner and GM that he is. But I do think that them three are still going to be in Dallas.
Yeah, I don't. It's good for Dak to sign the highest contract ever, but I don't know why you'd want to return to this team after all this stuff that's happened. Like you can go get this contract somewhere else and you don't have to deal with Jerry Jones. You don't have to deal with this circus that is the Dallas Cowboys, all the drama that's happened where CD's whoever, like his mother, was talking trash about Dak this past summer. And I like it just made to me, I thought Dak was going to leave. I thought that there was a good chance that Dak was just going to say, you know what, I'm done. And he said right before the contract, I think it was last Monday, maybe Tuesday, he said, like, it's starting to get kind of old that I don't have a contract. So maybe that was like something his agent told him to say. And then the Cowboys came right to the rescue and said, sign this paper. And
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he also said that he doesn't listen to Jerry Jones what he says publicly, so that should just be a sign that, like, I mean, I feel like there's so many good teams out there that just need a quarterback, and I honestly don't think that the Cowboy fans want Dak Prescott. I think that it's really just a hit or miss. I mean, Dak Prescott is a really good quarterback, but because he's on the Cowboys, because he has the Cowboy fans, because he hasn't won anything, it's like they don't want him, and it's like, all right, well, if you don't want me, let me go to the Raiders and actually do really well, because all they're missing is a quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, let me be grateful that I'm actually here and you're not struggling for a quarterback. Um, I mean, that's my opinion. But it's kind of crazy to think that the top side note, this is, but the top 10 quarterbacks, paid quarterbacks, have not won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And
So the top. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Top 10 are Dak, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Tua, Jared Goff, Herbert, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray.
Let's see. I wonder how many playoff wins that includes. Is that because Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl? Well, I guess Jared Goff technically won, right, with the Eagles. No, that's not Jared Goff, is it?
He went to the Super Bowl. Jared Goff, Hurts, and Burrow have been to the Super Bowl.
Okay, yeah.
No one's won one.
Let's see. So what is that? 5, 10, 15, 16, 17 wins in the playoffs between 10 people.
Yeah.
It's wild. Like, but I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy to think that the top 10 players, quarterbacks, are getting paid that much. But yeah,
It's on the teams, really. It's really on the teams. Like, you see these quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, perfect example, getting a massive contract and things don't go right. And now you're paying this quarterback all your money, and you, for the Broncos, just get rid of him. And then, like, for other guys like Dak, Trevor Lawrence, uh, Jordan Love, Tua, like, most of those guys are pretty early in their careers. We have no idea where their careers are going to go. Trevor Lawrence really hasn't been that amazing by any standards. And you have, I don't know where Mahomes is. I think he's in the 12 range of top paid quarterbacks. If he wins another Super Bowl this year, the teams are going to be like, why are we paying these guys all this money?
Exactly.
It's going to dawn at them at some point, like, look what Mahomes is doing. He signed a long contract and is not the highest paid, not even in the top 10, and he's winning all these Super Bowls, but we're here paying Dak all this money.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's like the Tom Brady effect. I think the Tom Brady was the first. I don't want to say the first one, but I don't think Tom Brady has ever been the highest paid quarterback in his whole entire career. And he's like,
Oh, yeah,
I don't want the money. Huh?
He took huge pay cuts.
Exactly. Because he's like, I would rather have my better teammates around me than me getting paid well. And I think that is really what's missing, is that the team, that sort of thing. So
The one that's most surprising is Trevor Lawrence at
Definitely.
2. That's insane.
yeah, yeah, and
Like,
even like, oh, go ahead.
he's melted down in the playoffs. He had that one meltdown against the Chargers. That was such a bad game, and he's the number 2 highest paid
Yeah,
quarterback in the league.
it's crazy. Even like, what number is Deshaun?
I think
forgot.
he just moved out of the top 10 with
Oh, okay.
Kyler Murray's deal.
Oh, okay. So yeah, even 11, Deshaun, and what had he done? I mean, granted, he was really good in Houston, but then during his contract, he was with going through some legal issues. Daniel Jones is the same thing. Like, all these quarterbacks are getting paid and resetting the market, but they're not performing to what they are, what their capability, what their pay is. And it sucks for like people like Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy should be paid more than all of them. He's had the most success out of them, I would say. Maybe not Burrow or Hurts, because I guess he has the same success, but I don't know. I would much rather pay Purdy than Dak. or any
Oh
of
yeah,
those 10, to be honest.
I agree.
So it's going to be interesting next year when they do have to pay him, and then that contract negotiation is going to go on. But I don't
It's
know.
just gonna take one. It's gonna take one owner to say no. I'm
Hmm.
not paying this guy this much money, and then it'll be a domino effect. But they'll see it. I mean, if Mahomes wins a third straight Super Bowl, that's when it's gonna smack him in the face. Like, why are we paying these guys this much money?
Yeah, no, definitely. And
Dak, the fact that Dak is the highest paid quarterback in the league, and he's been notorious for not getting any playoff wins.
yeah, it's crazy. And I understand like the quarterback is definitely the hardest position in the NFL. So you want a good quarterback in order. Trust me, I'm like the Steelers need a really good quarterback. But there are teams that really need a good quarterback. But then so I get paying them, them that position being paid the highest. But at the same time, all these quarterbacks that are not even in the top 10 or the top 5 are getting paid the top dollar. Like that makes no sense. Like if
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson was the highest paid quarterback, I get it. But Dak Prescott and then number 2 is Trevor Lawrence. They're not even the top 10 best quarterbacks in the league. Josh Allen, I get. But Kyler Murray, top 10? Come on. I don't know. It it's it pisses me off, honestly, that they're getting paid so much, to be honest.
it's crazy. It's just crazy. I mean, you would think that someone would see this already and be like, "Why are
Hmm.
we doing this?" But
Who do you think's
it
gonna
just
be
keeps.
the owner that says no?
I don't know. Probably the Bengals.
With Joey
I
B?
mean, I mean, at some point, I don't know. I'm just putting a.
Yeah.
That's the only logical one that makes sense because he doesn't like to pay people.
I think it's gonna be the Niners. I
Oh,
don't
it's
think
Brock.
yeah, I don't think that Brock is gonna get paid as much as we anticipate him going. I think they're gonna sit down and be like, listen, do you want to be like Mahomes and have a really good team around you? Or do you
Mm,
want to be like Trevor Lawrence, who has Christian Kirk as his wide receiver one? You know what
yeah.
I mean? And not a good defense around him. And not because we're out. If I was John Lynch, I'd be like, I'm willing to pay you top dollar. But that also means that I can't pay Fred Warner. I can't pay Trent Williams. I can't pay, all these players that essentially help you look good. Because all these players, if their team wins, we're like, oh my God, Brock looks so good. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. But so who do you want to mimic? Do you want to mimic Dak and go for the money? Or do you want to go mimic Mahomes and go for the Super Bowls? And I think Purdy really wants to win, especially after the Super Bowl loss and the or the NFC Championship heartbreak. He's itching for that Super Bowl. So I think next year is going to be the smack in the face where Brock is not going to get paid as much as he should be, and we're going to go crazy like, oh, he should get paid more. But
I could see him taking like a smaller contract just because he's from Iowa and like he kind of like doesn't really. I'm sure he's aware that Trent Williams, Debo, Ayuk, McCaffrey are all on the same team as him. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, like it keeps going. So
yeah,
like I could see him maybe going that route of taking like a lesser contract.
yeah. I mean,
I don't know how much less. You're gonna have to pay him something.
oh yeah, no, definitely. But I'm saying like I don't even he might crack the top 10, but I don't think he's gonna go top 5. Honestly, highest paid
Yeah.
quarterback. But plus his salary right now is what 900,000, and for a
Yeah.
quarterback like that's nothing. So if he gets paid whatever it is, I don't know, let's say 35 a year, 35 million a year compared to 900,000. I mean, that's a huge jump. So either
Yeah.
way, he's gonna be happy. But that's who my prediction would be. I think that Purdy is gonna be the one that really puts down the market. But since we're talking about paying, why haven't they paid Jamar Chase yet? What's going on with that?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's going in the right direction. It seems like it's almost done. I think they're probably just ironing out the finer details of the contract.
Hmm. Okay.
I he probably has, there's when you hear a contract, you just hear like the base numbers. Dak was paid 240 million or whatever. You don't hear like the incentives that the contract has, because there's a bunch of different things that come into play. Some contracts are like the front end deal where you get more in the front end. Some are in the back end deal where you get more money in the back end. So there's probably a lot of different things that they're discussing.
And they're probably they negotiate them. Do they? I'm sure they negotiate the incentives and stuff like that as well, right? Or are they
Yeah,
just okay?
usually I think usually the incentives are pretty well laid out in the like all the players know because you see quarterbacks try to get say Jamar Chase that 99th catch that'll give him an extra $4 million or whatever it is.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I thought that was a very interesting, especially his press conference after the game. He was like, "I don't know, ask my coach." You know what I mean? And after the next question,
Yeah,
I don't know, ask my coach. And I was like, "All right,
that
he is
was
not
interesting.
happy and he's not getting paid. It's not a really good formula to success."
And then you have Hassan Reddick who's sat out the
Oh
game and
my
lost
god,
out on $800,000.
it's crazy.
That's a big chunk of money.
Yeah.
I don't care how rich you are. That's a lot of money to lose out on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even if what they get paid 35, if he gets paid what 14 million a year, like that means you're really only getting paid through taxes. That's 7 million. Then that's already $1 million a fine. So out of the 7 million you would have got, you now down to six, and then it's gonna just keep going and going and going and going.
He's in a losing situation now. Like really your only choice is to come report to practice and play in the games and like with you being gone for so long now your risk of injury has gone up a lot and then
Exactly.
you're going to get even less money if that happens. It's
And the
just
expectation for the team. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like now we're like, all right, you held out for this long. Show us why you held out, or show us why. And then if you shit the bed, you just literally held out for no reason. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
so funny.
And like Hassan Reddick saw what happened to Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah,
Like Le'Veon Bell got traded after losing out on however much money it was. It was a lot of money. For running backs, they make, the least on a lot of teams. So for him to lose out on all the money he can make, then get traded and then get hurt and then kind of lose your career after that, like you don't want to be that guy, Hassan Reddick.
yeah, definitely. Or be like Judon, where he's like, all right, you know what? I'm going to a new team. Sign me to a 1 year deal, and let me prove to you why I should get paid more.
Yeah.
Like that's perfectly fine. But you
Yeah.
saying, all right, I haven't took one snap with you guys. I haven't got one haven't even gone into your facility, but I demand that you guys pay me. Like I don't know.
I think it probably would have been a different game last night with Hassan Reddick in that game.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just upsetting that he's going this route, and I guess I know Darian always says pay the man, but then if the man is requesting like an outrageous amount, you can't really pay the man. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird how all these things are happening more towards the end. Like I feel like these type of things should be happening more right after off season or like July or June, but now we're already
Yeah.
done with week 1 and you haven't even signed yet. Like it's crazy.
It is crazy. So let's go to our next segment. This is Hot Take Tuesday. This is a segment that will probably be coming back on our show. This is kind of something where we'll give you a hot take, whether we really believe it or not. It's just something we've kind of thought about, something we saw over the past weekend, or something we're just kind of predicting. something that is not believed by the mainstream media or the majority of fans that watch the NFL. So, Nimmer, what is your hot take this Tuesday?
So my hot take: we did Super Bowl predictions last week. I'm changing my Super Bowl predictions to the Niners and the Chiefs. I think the Niners looked really, really good. The Jets are honestly in the Niners without Christian McCaffrey. I thought that was going to be a huge hit for them, but in Mike Shanahan's offense, there's no really hole. It's a plug and play type of system, and come here, almost. He was looking at me. I didn't want him to howl, but he but yeah. So I think that the Niners, and it's going to be another repeat. The Niners and the Chiefs. I think that the only other option were really going to be the Eagles, but then the Eagles gave up too many points. The Packers' offense are really good, but compared to um, Detroit's offense, which didn't look the best, but compared to the Niners' offense, they doesn't even compare. So I think that the Chiefs and Niners are going to the Super Bowl. That's my remade early predictions. Um, and speaking of Super Bowls in the playoffs, the Ravens are not going to make the playoffs. That is going to be my hot take. I think that the reason why they're still in that game is because Lamar ran for over 100 yards, and he's already banged up, and it's only week one. So I think that that's not sustainable. You brought Derrick Henry in for a reason, and John Harbaugh already said that he's not going to get 30 touches. We'll talk about that a little later, but he had literally 16 carries in the game and missed practice. And if you watch that game, he was lowering his shoulder. It wasn't even like he was sliding for 16 times. Like, no, he was hitting. And they played Thursday. So he had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday as well. And Tuesday, that's 5 days that he needed to recover for that one game. And it's week one. So I don't think that the Ravens make this playoffs. And then another hot take, which I don't know if it's really a hot take, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Daniel Jones is going to be benched before their week 11 bye week.
Yeah, the press actually asked him after the game, do you think there's a chance that Drew Lock will start over you at some point this week or this year?
Jeez, the media is just ruthless. Imagine, like,
Yeah.
what do you want him to say? Yeah, I think that Drew
Yeah.
Lock is really good. Much better than me.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. But even like
Actually week 5, yeah, I think week 5 probably then.
right? That's gonna be really where they are tired of me. Like
He's like, we're right after we play the Cowboys. That's probably when it's gonna happen.
Some of the questions, like there's a reason why it wasn't. I mean, there's multiple reasons why I wasn't a professional athlete, but I feel like that would be the number one. Like I always laugh about like the basketball players do this all the time, where he's like, "What do you want me to say?" Like,
Yeah.
What? But yeah. So, what's your hot takes?
So Nimmer's got 3. I'm just gonna give you one. I've got Will Levis is going to be benched by the end of this season. That is something I've kind of thought about watching Will Levis. I've never really been a fan of the way he plays. This past game, granted, it was a pretty good defense. I think that the Chicago Bears, this might be a hot take, I guess. I think the Chicago Bears defense is going to finish top 5 this year. So I think he was going up against a pretty good defense. His stats against
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. His stats against the Bears was 19 of 32, 127 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. If you watched any of the highlights over the weekend, you probably saw the last interception for Will Levis, where he was getting pressured and he rolled out to the left and threw like this pitch, like not underhand, but like a pitch where you just like extend your elbow, and it was up in the air and it was a pick for a touchdown. And I think when I watch Will Levis, I see a lot of those situations that could arise. I don't think he takes care of the ball as nearly as much as he should. And I do think Will Levis will lose his job eventually. and that would mean Mason Rudolph, the backup, will be playing for the Titans at some point this year.
Which would be crazy. I mean, he did bring the Steelers to the playoffs last year, and I think that the reason that is because, as I said, he did not turn the ball over, and because Will Levis threw that pitch that lost them the game. I think the coach even came out and said if they punted the ball in the second half on first down, they would have won the game.
Yeah.
Like, what? That means if you just took your offense out the game, you would have won. That's such a
I mean, to be completely honest, the reason they lost was Will Levis.
No, 100%.
That
You're right.
defense for the Bears really showed out. They got some really good, interesting players playing this year. Montez Sweat's back. He's going to be creating some havoc for quarterbacks. There's a guy they line up in nickel. His name's escaping me now, but he looks really, really good. And then you have Jalen Johnson, some consider the best corner in the league. So I think that's Eberflus is kind of like one of those defensive masterminds in the NFL. I think they're going to be top 5 this year.
I can see that. And I mean, we called it. We said that Caleb Williams is not that good, but the surrounding pieces is the reason that he's going to look good. And I mean, he didn't really look good week 1, but that's the reason that they're going to win games. It's not going to be Caleb Williams. It's going to be the receivers around him, and the defense is going to be huge.
Yeah, well, for the Bears, I think when they had that number 9 pick in this past year's draft, they should have taken an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
I understand the I kind of understand what your thinking is there with the Dunze pairing up Caleb Williams with a new receiver that fairly knows him, but it just doesn't make sense to me. You had your biggest issue for probably the past 5 years has been your offensive line, and you didn't really address it. You have one tackle on your team that's shown some promise, but I would have secured the other end up with the guy that the Jets took, Olu Fashanu.
Oh, yeah.
I think he would have been good there. Instead, you brought in a receiver and you brought in Keenan Allen. It's like, why did we get all these weapons when Caleb Williams is going to be on his back a lot?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I want to say like 50, maybe 60% was from the offensive line, but I think that Caleb Williams got sacked a lot because he held the ball on a lot as well.
He did.
But I agree. I mean, you brought Keenan Allen. That should have been enough. The fact that you have 2 good receivers and a good tight end, you brought Swift in, which is a good running back. That's 4 good pieces. Why do you need another good piece onto your offense if your offensive line, which is pretty much the core, which is the second most important position on the offense, is not as good? Like, you think that Caleb Williams is going to be that good without an offensive line? Come on.
Yeah, I think he realized probably 2 snaps into the game, this isn't preseason anymore. This is a much different game.
That's true.
That goes for Bo Nix as well.
Yeah. Speaking of, who do you think? And I don't know if we really have this segment, but do you think that what rookie quarterback do you think did the best and the worst?
They all lost.
Besides
I'm
Caleb
pretty
Williams.
Sure. Oh yeah, he should have lost.
Definitely should have lost.
Jaden Daniels, I thought looked good. He had some times in the game where he looked really good rushing, running the ball. I would say there were some times where he was kind of dinking and dunking to the running backs, which could work for the first couple games, but at some point you're going to have to push the ball down the field. So we'll probably see that challenge arise for the Commanders here. Bo Nix had the worst by far.
Over Caleb?
Yeah, by far he did.
Wow. Damn.
He looked bad.
Really? Damn. He looked so good. You guys are so excited about him too.
We do this every year. We do this every year. Every year we get a new quarterback and we're like, oh, did you see him? Did you see him? And then the season starts and we're like, no, wait, hold on.
We want the other person back.
Yeah, it's like, can we trade for that guy and then we'll pay him $500 million?
Besides Peyton Manning, who was the last good quarterback that you guys had? Tebow, I guess. For that 1 year, you guys freaking beat us.
Was he a good quarterback?
You got a playoff win. I mean, I guess
he did.
Right. You're right.
He did.
But he wasn't really that good of a quarterback.
I liked Kyle Orton.
Okay. So early 2000s.
That was a while ago. That was a long time ago.
I was thinking Kyle Orton too. Yeah.
Yeah, he was fun to watch.
It's crazy.
But yeah, it's really been Peyton for this past decade, and that's it. So
yeah.
I think
this past century.
I think Bo, he's gonna learn. But man, there was some throws where I was like, oh, like you do this against the Chiefs or the Ravens or someone with like a really good defense. Raiders, like it's gonna be a game where your stat line is gonna look like 5 interceptions and 30 yards. Like that was not gonna be good.
Yeah, but luckily you guys didn't have too much really high expectations going into the season. I think what'd you say the record was, like 6-9 or something like that? So, or that can't be right? No,
6-11.
6-11. Sorry, math. But good thing I'm not a math
9.
teacher anymore. But yeah,
some reason that number's stuck in your head there, Nim?
Yeah,
6 and 9.
I plead the fifth. Let's move on.
We will go to break. Feed your dogs, Nim. See you guys in 2 minutes. Welcome back to the Do Not Disturb Football Podcast, where football is forever. I am your host, Drew Pelter, in the Steelers jersey. That is Nimmer. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are on Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok. We actually just hit 500 followers on TikTok.
Oh, let's go.
Let's keep that going. If anyone's watching from the TikTok community, we enjoy having you here. I don't know why it's working on TikTok so well, but we're going to keep posting primarily on there and then kind of post out from there just because it's working so well there. Let's get into our top waiver wire ads. We're now into the fantasy football half of our show. This is who we are as a show. We are a fantasy football show. A lot of names arised over the weekend for the fantasy football world. Nimmer, who do you think are your top waiver wire ads and targets?
So, luckily, fortunately, but unfortunately, I got the worst, as I mentioned earlier. I got the lowest scoring points this week, which in all actuality is a good thing because I have the top of the waiver wire. So, I think my first on it, I mean, it's kind of obvious, likely. I'm not big on the Ravens offense, and we'll kind of touch on that a little later. But I think that likely I was kind of skeptical because I thought he was going to really share snaps with Mark Andrews. But the way that they kind of implemented him in like the slot, where they would have Andrews maybe be the blocking tight end, and he be the more of the receiving tight end, or they put him out to slot sometimes, put him out to wide. So I really like likely. That's who I'm gonna pick my first waiver wire. My second is probably the as I mentioned, the MVP of the week, which is Chris Boswell. I think the way that the Steelers are gonna win, as long as the quarterback doesn't turn it over, the defense is gonna stop them. The offense isn't as strong as we would like, essentially, or strong, I would say, at all. So I think that Chris Boswell will probably be a really good pickup as well.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the secret sauce I was using a couple years ago with Russ at quarterback. I was like, I know he's not the best at getting in the end zone, so why don't I just go pick up Brandon McManus? I think it's probably the same thing with Pittsburgh. Boswell's solid. He's been a solid kicker for a while now, and you saw this past weekend he was hitting it from everywhere, 50 yards, 30 yards, didn't matter which hash it was on, he was kicking it right through the middle.
Did you see that
Looked
he
very
punted too?
solid. Yeah, I saw that.
It's wild, and it was a really nice punt. I mean, that punt pretty much sealed the game for us, honestly. So
Maybe he was practicing that, but usually kickers don't
well, our punter got
practice.
hurt,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's
Usually,
crazy.
usually they don't practice punting. So
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming he probably punted in college and high school, but I don't really know.
Yeah, or just started punting in the net and figuring it out. He's like, all right, well,
Just killed
I'm
it.
on fire. Might as well just try it. Yeah, that's crazy.
So
What about you?
for my bigger waiver wire ads, everyone's going to be going for Isaiah Likely. He was the star this past weekend, I would think, for waiver wires. Before the weekend started, he was on 9% of teams, which is pretty crazy. I remember watching the game thinking like, oh, he must have been drafted by someone in our league, and I just can't think of who it was. And then I go and look in both of my leagues, and he's on the waiver wire. And I was like, man, that's crazy. After his season last year, the way it ended, I would think someone would have maybe drafted him.
I think it's because of the Mark Andrews. So the reason that
Yeah,
he did so well last year was because Mark Andrews was hurt. So Mark Andrews is back. I mean that's why I didn't draft him. I thought that Mark Andrews was going to be the
yeah.
primary tight end, but I didn't see that they kind of shifted him around and they used both of the tight ends.
Maybe some other names to think about for waiver wires. Say you don't have the first pick in the waiver wire like Nimmer does, and you want to pick up someone else. I would take a look at Wan'Dale Robinson from the Giants. He was involved pretty heavily in the offense this week. I think he's kind of been someone for the Giants. If for the people that don't remember, Kadarius Toney was on the Giants originally. Wan'Dale Robinson came in. That's pretty much what got Toney shipped out because Toney didn't have the best attitude, and they liked Wan'Dale more. So Wan'Dale Robinson could be someone you want to take a look at and pick up. If Williamson is out there, the receiver from the Lions, if he's out there in your league, I would definitely pick him up. He looks like he could be a strong wide receiver too on that team for the Lions, and they throw the ball a lot, so that could be a really good pickup. He had some really good plays Sunday night where he had a jet sweep play. He had a couple bombs down the sideline, so he looks like he could be in for a decent season. Um, I like Colby Parkinson too for the Rams. I am interested to see how this offense for the Rams works out now that Puka's out for the next couple weeks. Parkinson is the tight end that they got from Seattle. He looks like he's capable to play well for them. Higbee's going to be coming back probably around week 5, I think. So once that happens, Parkinson might fall off, but I think it's someone to watch at least for these next couple of weeks. That Rams offense with Puka out, I think it actually boosts Kyren a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how the ball gets thrown around there. You might want to just take a look at all the receivers. You have Demarcus Robinson there, Whittington. So I would take a look at all those guys and see who pops out of the shadows.
Who was number 18? Was that Robinson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was
I thought it was
he came from the Bucks. Tyler Johnson?
Johnson.
I don't know how I pulled that.
I mean, honestly, I don't even know if you're right or not, but
Yeah, me neither.
But whoever number 18, if it's Tyler Johnson or whoever number 18 in the Rams is, I think that he's gonna fill in Puka's role. But Darian's already trying to get Kyren from me, so
Yeah. Yeah, he talked to me about some trades today. He's come to me and said, like, so if I get this trade done with Austin, then we can do this. And I'm like, dude, it's crazy how you operate. It's week 1. Like, calm down.
that wasn't a bad trade though, in his defense. But that's neither here or there.
Some other players, if you're like in a really deep 14-man league, I would maybe target some guys on the Broncos offense. Josh Reynolds seemed to be someone that Bo Nix liked to go to. He went to him on a couple third down plays. Jaleel McLaughlin, if he's out there, I would definitely grab him. I think his role is going to grow. I think he had 10 carries this past weekend. For that being the first game, I think there's a chance his role could grow. And if you think about the running backs that have worked in the Denver Broncos system or in the Sean Payton system, there have always been kind of the smaller receiving backs like Alvin Kamara, Darren Sproles. So Jaleel kind of fits that mold. Justice Hill, that's another running back, the Ravens running back. I would take a look at him. He was involved in the passing downs. And if that guy's gone, you may want to take a look at Keaton Mitchell. He's not coming back till like week 10, so it might be a little too late if you're losing at that point. But
that's a good IR spot holder.
It is. I think it'll be very interesting to see how that Ravens offense is going to work once you have Keaton Mitchell back, because they were already nearly splitting carries with Derrick Henry and Justice Hill, and now you throw in a guy that really impressed a lot of people last year, Keaton Mitchell. So
yeah,
let's go into the fantasy MVP review. So we gave you who we thought were going to be the fantasy MVPs. Who was your projected?
Cook. Freaking Josh Allen
James
took
Cook.
all the touchdowns.
Yeah, that was a weird game. He's my RB2, so I felt the wrath of that.
Oh, sorry.
The guy I said was the 4 highest scoring player for fantasy.
Who?
I'm pretty sure. Josh Allen.
Oh, I thought he was number 1.
It went Baker, Josh Allen, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp. Jaden Reed, 2, and Saquon. Saquon beat Jaden Reed by 0.1.
Wow. That's crazy.
Saquon looked really, really good. He was for sure the fantasy MVP. He had he was rushing the ball. He was catching the ball. One of the I think he scored 2 touchdowns. The last touchdown he had was a wheel route that he went on. It was a pretty good throw, but like it's really impressive to see a running back that can do it both like that. He is going to be a prominent player in this offense. I'm kind of mad I didn't draft him. I could have.
Oh, you got who'd you get? It's
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I should have gone Saquon there.
Yeah, You
but
probably
it's
should
okay.
have. You live and you learn. Maybe you might be able to trade him. No,
Yeah,
JT
yeah.
for Saquon.
Case will be like, yeah, right.
I know. But yeah.
Did you get to see Saquon this on Friday?
Oh yeah. No, he was definitely my MVP. He had 132 total yards, 2 TDs, 33 fantasy points, and I think that a lot of people skipped out on Saquon because they're scared that Jalen Hurts were gonna get a lot of the touchdowns. And the Tish push did look really good. I mean, you have Saquon who squats 500 pounds. You have Jalen Hurts that squats 500 pounds. So I mean, maybe down the line, I can see them still doing the tush push to pass interference in the end zone. They get put on the 1 inch yard line, tush push in. But I think throughout the whole entire year, Saquon is going to be a menace. The Eagles are looking really good, really good
Offensively, yeah, they
offensively.
looked good.
Yeah, not defensively.
I liked the performance from their first year corner, Quinyon Mitchell.
Oh yeah,
He looked pretty good.
yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, luckily, like if they go, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of. I don't know their schedule off the top of my head, but if they let up like 30 points to the Packers,
Yeah,
like it's they can't sustain that for too long. So I don't know.
yeah.
But my fantasy MVP. So your fantasy was Saquon, right? Fantasy MVP.
Oh, I was just listing like the actual people who
Oh,
scored the highest.
I see. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think Chris Boswell should at least get some type of credit.
Oh yeah,
With
he had 28 points.
mm-hmm. 18 points
That's it.
and a clutch punt. Oh, 18
Yeah.
points total, but I don't know. I didn't see his fantasy points. I should have done more research, but
Well, I don't know if it scored the same in our league. I think he had 26 or 28. I
which is
think
insane.
him and Moody tied.
Oh, yeah, which is
Moody also had
crazy.
a lot of points. That's a lot of points for a kicker.
Yeah. It sucks if you lose by through because of a kicker, man. That's
I
insane.
Moody almost brought me back against Hook. I
Oh,
lost by 2 points.
yeah. See, imagine just one extra field goal.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Uh, let's talk about the biggest fantasy surprises. So there was quite a bit
Mm.
from J.K. Dobbins' performance with the Chargers. That was a big surprise. Marvin Harrison only getting one catch for 4 yards. Kincaid only getting one catch. Diggs with 2 touchdowns for the Texans. What was your biggest fantasy surprise this weekend?
So I had two. I think my biggest was Henry, Derrick Henry. I thought he was going to be very incorporated into that offense. I mean, he got a touchdown, which saved his whole fantasy, but he had 13 carries for 46 yards. So, if he didn't, that's 4 points with no catches or anything like that. So, I think that was surprising. I also was really low on Stevenson, Rashad Stevenson, the running back
Ramondre.
for the Ramonde. God, I don't names are just so bad with me, man. They suck. But my name's just I can't my brain. But yeah, that dude. I didn't think that he was gonna do well. I didn't think the Patriots in general were gonna do well. But the fact that he got over 100 yards, that was a big surprise. Devontae Adams, I thought he was gonna go off. You talk
Yeah,
all this
same.
shit to the freaking Chargers, and you shit the bed. You don't do shit. Granted, that it was some of it had to do with the quarterback, but at the same time,
Their whole
you're
offense looked off.
yeah, exactly, and you're the leader of the offense. Like, come on, I don't know. So I think those were the three biggest surprises for me.
Yeah, I think for me, J.K. Dobbins was such a crazy performance. I did not see that coming at all.
Mm-mm.
I thought Gus was going to be the main man for LA. It looks like it might be Dobbins. It's crazy to think he's gone through a bunch of injuries. I think he's torn his knee multiple times, Achilles. He's had a lot of different injuries. I thought that he would be like one of those contributing players that you see on a team every year that gets like the first downs every now and then. But he could be, the RB1 for LA. And I think he had 145 yards,
Yeah, it was insane.
which which was crazy. I would say another shock for me was the split carries with ETN and Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting. ETN did not look good in that game. It
No.
was kind of shocking to see what was going on. And like, I guess maybe the touchdown that he fumbled where the guy punched it out, maybe that's where that kind of sticks with me, where I'm like, he didn't play well. But I mean, his numbers weren't very good. And then he had that play. He had one play where he like tried to do like he tried to run around the whole defense and it didn't work.
Damn.
But it was
Yeah.
crazy that they split the carries between him and Tank Bigsby. That was a big name in the drafts last year, Tank Bigsby, thinking maybe he would pop off a little bit. Looks like it might be this year he gets some more volume. Are you worried about that if you're an ETN? I know Darian owns ETN, but would you be worried?
Um, I wouldn't be. I would be cautious. I wouldn't be worried. I don't think that you should trade him right away, but I definitely would kind of like plant the seeds in some people and then maybe wait. I mean, I'm just not high on the Jags offense in general, so I don't know. I wouldn't like completely, drop him essentially, but I would try to get a. I wouldn't want if I would be scared if that was my RB1.
Yeah. Another surprise, probably worth mentioning, is Xavier Worthy for the Kansas City
Oh
Chiefs.
yeah,
He played pretty well. You kind of forget about him because that was the first game of the slate. But
saved Austin's team.
yeah, he played. Yeah, Austin, it's crazy. Every year he picks these random teams, and his team is like, it's going to beat someone at some point in the
Yeah,
league.
fucking beat me. God damn it.
Wait, did you play Austin?
No, I didn't, but he beat me in point. I mean, he got more
Yeah,
points
he
than
beat
me,
you in
so
points, like 5 more points, right?
yeah, it wasn't even close. So stupid. But hey, shout out Austin. He got,
Yeah,
he found a golden what is it? A gold in the rough.
Golden Nugget.
Yeah, the gold nugget. I was trying to Aladdin the thing, the
Oh,
something in the rough.
like a
And I'm a Disney
needle in
fan
a
too.
haystack.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah, sure.
Something same sort of
Yeah, exactly. Hey,
saying.
exactly. A squirrel finds a nut every once in a while, so
There you go.
so many.
Even a blind one.
Yeah, even a blind one.
um, but Worthy looked good. The Chiefs offense, that is a scary offense this year. I don't know how any defense is going to really stop that, to be honest, because
Hmm.
it looks like they're set up with Worthy, and then you think Marquise Brown coming back. So they'll be taking the vertical routes, and then you have Kelsey and Rashee Rice underneath. And those guys are pretty tough to deal with. I think if you ask the Ravens, they were having a hard time dealing with Rashee Rice all night.
And then Pacheco coming out of the backfield, passing
Yeah,
and running. He's a monster. So,
and their
like,
their defense still looks pretty solid.
yeah.
That was the thing I think I noticed the most from all the NFL games. The tackling from the Kansas City Chiefs defense, like open field tackling, that's probably the reason they've been in these Super Bowls so much.
Definitely.
They do all these little things really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, usually first season there's a lot of missed tackles. I mean, throughout the whole entire game, you can kind of see players bouncing off each other, that sort of thing. But the Chiefs, they just held it down.
Yeah, they're playing really well. I really hope you're wrong. I hope it's not the Niners and the Chiefs.
I mean, I definitely hope I'm wrong too, because it really just takes one game in the playoffs that the Chiefs can just not choke, but like just not play the way that they play, or the other team will have a really good game plan. But when you have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey with all these weapons, great defense. It's unfair.
Kaysen commented on our TikTok video today and said, because we posted who's your Super Bowl favorites after week one, and he commented and he said, "You all really think the Niners aren't going to be in the Super Bowl this year?"
I mean, I don't know. I think I at first I didn't think so. I think that the offense, um, there's too many distractions in the offseason. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think that kind of brought them closer together than anything else. But I mean, the way that they looked Monday, man, it's gonna be hard to beat them. It's gonna be
Yeah.
really hard to beat them.
They have a sneaky pickup on defense. I thought he was on the Packers. His name's Devondre Campbell.
Oh,
He's he's there in place of Dre Greenlaw. So once Dre Greenlaw is healthy, now you have Campbell, Dre Greenlaw, and Fred Warner, which is pretty intimidating, I would think. They're all three really, really big linebackers.
yeah, and really good too. Like it's one thing if they're like Brian Urlacher, where they're just big and they know how to hit, but Fred Warner is fast. I mean, he
He's
can
so
cover.
fast.
He can cover. He can cover. I don't want to say slot receivers, but definitely tight
You're,
ends easily.
he reminds me of like a real life predator, like Alien and Predator.
Yeah,
That's what he reminds me of.
it's the hair.
Yeah, he's so damn good too. He's one of those
Such a
players that you watch here just like in awe.
best linebacker in the league.
Yeah, he's got to
Yeah,
be. He does everything like the pass from the pass coverage to stopping the run to rushing the passer. He does everything really well.
yeah,
He's one of the better linebackers in coverage in the league,
definitely.
which is huge. Our last segment. This is going to be another segment that reoccurs on this show. This is hold or fold. So you could think about this kind of like poker. We're talking about players we think you should hold on to and players that maybe you should think about going about differently. So hold will be a player that we still believe in. We're telling you, hey, hold on to this guy. Keep him in your starting lineup. He's going to be okay, even though he had an underwhelming performance. And then the fold players, those are the players where we're saying, hey, you might want to bench this guy. You may want to look in the waiver wires for someone else. You may even want to drop him. Let's talk about the hold or fold. Who are your players, Nim?
So this player in this team actually really underperformed. I think they always, I don't know what it is about week one, but they do not do well week one. And it's the Cincinnati Bengals. I think that we should hold on Jamar Chase. Even though he's dealing with some contract issues, there's no T Higgins to kind of get the sweat off him. Patriots defense, I believe last year I read a stat where they're top 10. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to believe that they're top 10 defense, but after the performance Sunday, I could definitely see it. But yeah, I mean, he still had 6 receptions for 62 yards and 12 fantasy points. So it's not a really bad week. Like if he got a touchdown, then that would have been 18 points. That would have been a really nice, solid week for him. But I think that Jamar Chase is going to be just fine. He's still going to be the top 5 receiver in the league, fantasy-wise, at the end of the season. I think that you should just hold on Jamar Chase. Still put him in your starting lineup. He's still your wide receiver 1. Don't freak out just yet. Now, my fold. We kind of been itching at this throughout the whole entire show. The Ravens' offense is in shambles. I shouldn't say shambles, but as Harbaugh said, he's trying to make it unpredictable, and I'm going to read a quote earlier, but I think Derrick Henry is somebody you should try to look. Wouldn't drop him, but I definitely would try to go out to other managers and try to trade for him. I mean, it's still a big name. I think that maybe wait till he has a really good week and then start trying to look for trades for him. Whether that be, there are going to be a couple weeks where he's going to have 100 100 yards, but I don't like how inconsistent that the Ravens offense, anybody from the Ravens offense is going to be. Um, so in this past week, he had 13 carries for 46 yards. So I think he's going to be the third down back. I don't. He's not going to be um, catching balls out of the backfield. Um, so if you're in a PPR league, that's going to be huge. If you're in a non PPR league, he is going to be a red zone player. I think if the Ravens are in within the 5 yard line, they're probably going to give it to Henry. Just keep giving it to him until he scores. He's a freaking nature. He's just ginormous. Um, but I just don't think that he's going to be the primary back. I think that, to quote Harbaugh, he said in a press conference right after the game. No, not after the game. I think it was like Saturday or Sunday, maybe. I think it was Sunday, maybe. Maybe it was Monday. I don't know when it was. But anyway, he said, quote, every game is going to be different. I was happy with the running back game. Um, we rushed for 185 yards overall, and a lot of that was Lamar, but that's the formula. We didn't bring Derek. We didn't bring Derek in here to carry the ball 30 times a game. That's not the plan. The plan is Derek, Lamar, Mark, Isaiah, Zay, Bate, Nelly. We want to be unpredictable. So that kind of shows you that he's not going to be the primary running back. He's not even going to get the ball 30 times a game. He also later on in the press conference said that Henry will sometimes he'll run for 100 yards and Zay will only have 2 catches. But then like this past time, he's going to have 40 yards and no catches. And, Isaiah likely had a game. So I really am really folding on Derrick Henry and most of the Baltimore players, even Lamar. To be honest, I don't think that he's going to do that well. I think he's already banged up. I think that this is like a perfect time to trade him. And I know I'm contradicting myself because I wanted Likely, but I think I'm pretty low on the Ravens.
So for my hold player, this is a player that I own on my team currently. I know a lot of fantasy owners out there are probably super shocked at his performance this past weekend. It is Dalton Kincaid, the tight end for the Buffalo Bills. And you're fine. But um, Dalton Kincaid, he was playing a lot in this game. It's not a situation where Dawson Knox, the other tight end, is taking reps from him. Dalton Kincaid played the majority of the snaps for the tight ends. The ball just really wasn't going his way. Josh Allen, I think, I kind of said this on when we left you on Wednesday. I said that I think Josh Allen is going to have a struggle with trusting his receivers, and he's going to try to do a lot of it himself. And he ended up scoring 2 rushing touchdowns and throwing 2 touchdowns. So that's kind of what he did. He wants to put the team on his back and try to do it all himself. This weekend, it hurt Dalton Kincaid. I do think that offense is going to start looking better and better. And I think Kincaid is going to be involved very heavily. He is, in my mind, still a top 5 tight end in fantasy this year. Maybe I said the top tight end. Maybe he's not the top tight end, but I still think he's in that top 5 for managers that own Dalton Kincaid. Do not panic. You'll be okay. Hold on to him. Keep him in your starting lineup. It'll all come together soon. And for my fold, this is a guy we've kind of gone at a lot on this show. It is Drake London, the receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. This is the exact opposite situation for what I just laid out for Dalton Kincaid. It looked like Kirk Cousins was rarely ever looking for Drake London. Drake London didn't really even look open for most of the game. He had 2 receptions, I believe, for 15 yards. It's just if I was someone that drafted Drake London, I would be pretty panicked right now. I would try to involve him in a trade and try to get someone else to buy into him. And I think that's going to be difficult. He was a player that was going in the second round of this past year's draft. And we said it on here on this show, don't draft him. A lot of people ended up still drafting him in the second round. Um, if you saw that first performance, I can feel your anxiety. I think it's probably you should be looking for a receiver on the waiver wire. I hope you drafted someone else as a backup. I don't think it's going to be a very good season for Drake London. He is probably our number one overcooked player. He would be my number one fold player for this season as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely. Poor Devin.
Yeah. Devin, way to go. Keep doing this for us. We love it when you pick those guys. And for the rest of our league mates, man, they love to see us. I think we all lost on the podcast this past weekend. Me, you, and Darian all lost in our matchups.
Yeah.
And they like to share their thoughts on the grades that they had that we gave them. If you guys are listening, still not sorry. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be as honest as I can. Yeah, you'll be okay. You'll be okay.
And for everybody that lost week 1, just remember I lost my week 1 last year, and I ended the year 10-4, tied with first. So it's only week 1, and for the rest of my league mates, I'm coming for you. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But yeah, it's only week 1. I mean, like I said, it's just an extended preseason, so there's still a lot of football to go around.
There is no reason to panic right now. Don't send a crazy trade that's going to destroy your team. Hold tight. Like, you'll be fine. Just play the game. Make sure you're hitting the right matchups. Pay attention to who these players are lining up against every week. And be smart with your lineups. It's a week-by-week game. It's not week 1 and it's over game. You'll be okay.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. But that is everything from us. Come join my porcelain face tomorrow. I will be seeing you, Nim, tomorrow. Hopefully, Darian will be back. He should be back tomorrow. Is there any thoughts from you before we get out of here?
No, just looking forward to this upcoming week, and just football's back, baby. I'm just excited that it's this time of the year. It's starting to get cold. Not cold, but I think next week this week was the first time in like however many months we didn't have a week of 100-degree weather. So the weather's cooling down. Yeah, I love Arizona. Weather's cooling down, so it's the best time of the year.
It hit 60 degrees here on Saturday, I think.
Jeez. Wait till it starts snowing, man. That's going to be fun.
No.
It's going to be fun like the first week, and then after you have to like shovel your driveway and people don't know how to drive, it's going to suck.
Yeah. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
But I take the bus everywhere. I'm going to try to do that.
Oh, nice.
Continuously through the winter. As long as my car's not sliding on the ice and the bus I'm in is sliding on the ice, I'll take that. I think I'm way less injured or way less chance of getting injured on a bus than in my car.
Yeah.
But that is everything from us. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you're following us on all of our social medias. Tell friends about us. Tell your league mates about us. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, and here on YouTube. Like, follow, subscribe. As always, goodbye from us. Have a good night.